Ladies and gentlemen, we have a colossal monster today. At 96 m tall, humans look like eggs as it opens its jaws towards Feud. Fortunately, distracted by a distant train, Feud realized the wood monster harbored hundreds of deer inside, likely to feed its young. He headed in the direction of the train. When it appeared before them, it was already a proper train, and the two of them panicked and ran for their lives. Realizing they couldn't outrun the train, they jumped off the cliff and luckily landed in a huge lake. When they resurfaced, subtitles, they saw a wooden block intercept the train, swallowing an egghead-like spicy snack. The commander then noticed Godzilla had sped up. Next day, Feud woke up, surprisingly still alive, and saw a military plane collecting the nuke that the wood monster absorbed, transporting it to a military ship 20 miles off the coast for repairs. Just then, the emergency evacuation sirens blared in San Francisco, while Feud's wife put their son on a tiny kindergarten. Meanwhile, Feud chose to stay at the hospital to help people. On the Golden Gate Bridge, the evacuation sirens blared as traffic was completely gridlocked. The bridge was not only filled with evacuating citizens, but also military tanks pointing their cannons toward the sea, while warships patrolled the waters. Inside the school bus, while kids were goofing around, a monstrous roar suddenly echoed. Young Feud curiously looked out the window and saw Godzilla charging angrily towards the bridge. Realizing humans were blocking his path, he halted in his tracks and began swishing his tail, perhaps gearing up to stand tall. The military was about to report that there were civilians on the bridge, pleading not to fire, when Godzilla suddenly stood up, blocking incoming shells as the soldiers on the bridge started. The driver, frightened out of his wits, shouted, "Hurry up and go. Get out of this troublesome place." Shells continued to fall one after another, with a suffocating intensity. One shell after another pounded Godzilla into submission, and in an instant, the Golden Gate Bridge collapsed as Godzilla charged on. This was supposed to be a monster movie, yet it felt like a reenactment of D-Day. The soldiers aboard finally fixed the nuke, inserting 2 keys. They activated the nuke, set to explode in 90 minutes, when a severe pulse attack struck, shutting down the ship's engines. The entire power grid of San Francisco went dark, even fighter jets plummeting into the ocean. Suddenly, a piercing scream echoed from the sky. It was the flying Tower mate. This male wood monster got a free dog from the US military, unaware the nuke had been swallowed by a female during transit. He first picked up the nuke in his mouth, then held it with his hands, and happily flew out of everyone's sight. He flew into the city, shouting loudly, and soon, in Chinatown, the military's pride, a million-ton nuclear bomb became just another spicy stick in the wood monster's mouth. The male wood monster had a moment of affection with his wife and fed her the spicy stick. Once the wood monster got involved, he quickly used the nuke to nourish the little. He then dug a hole, and for the safety of his family, the male wood monster climbed up to keep watch. Their teamwork was flawless. Upon discovering that the wood monster had transported the nuke downtown, the military sent a suicide squad to retrieve it and prevent radiation exposure for tens of thousands, but a 5-mile radius faced electromagnetic interference. Time was running out for a foot approach, so the squad decided to parachute from 9,000 meters, opting for a high jump, low deploy drop onto the nuke. The commander asked the team leader how long it would take to disarm the nuke if they found it, but the leader had never seen it before and didn't dare to guarantee a time frame. That's when he confidently stated he could disarm it in 60 seconds because he had installed the timer on that nuke. The general's 3-kill plan was dashed. He pinned his hopes on Godzilla, and soon enough, 3 giant beasts coincidentally arrived in downtown. These 2 species had been sworn enemies since ancient times. Today's not just a test of strength, but a life or death struggle. People fled, shut shelter doors, praying for an end to this inhuman war. The squad soared to 9,000 meters, dove for the nuke, and as they parachuted, saw the wood monster was already fighting Godzilla. They prayed not to be swept away by exaggerated shots. After landing, soldiers quickly found the nuke and saw the wood monster's agony. The wood monster howled in agony, showing birth is a tough ordeal. The troops watched it struggle while glancing at stand elsewhere. The loud crash, they saw Godzilla approaching. Godzilla said to the wood monster, "I don't attack the weak, come and fight." The wood monster seemed to understand, responding accordingly. Just out of the delivery room, it dashed off to fight as the military swiftly moved to execute. The wood monster quickly reached Godzilla, standing tall to face off. After their first collision, Godzilla overpowered the wood monster and clutched its neck. The military arrived at the birthing room to find the nuke hanging upside down, only to their horror discovering it was covered with eggs just laid by the wood monster. It looked like barbecued octopus tentacles, and if those red eggs hatched, the entire planet would face catastrophe. The military dismantled the nuke's warhead, revealing just 27 minutes remaining. As they worked, the wood monster was pushed back several thousand meters by Godzilla trampled the wood monster after it fell. As it was about to breathe fire, the male wood monster arrived, yanked, and tossed it aside. Utilizing his flying advantage, the male wood monster drained Godzilla's energy. Noticing this, the wood monster quickly assisted by slamming Godzilla into a building. They originally intended to disarm the nuke, but without tools, they were powerless. They decided to take the whole warhead and evacuate, but suddenly Feud realized. He looked at the hatching wood monster, and then turned his gaze elsewhere to see three giant beasts relentlessly wrecking the city, causing buildings to topple. Thus, he made a decision. He took a crowbar and pried open a bus gas tank, allowing the fuel to pour out onto the ground. While the wood monster and Godzilla were busy fighting, he lit it up, setting the wood monster's birthing room ablaze. When the wood monster saw its nursery turned into flames, it wailed in agony, rushing over to see if it could save anything. The male wood monster sensed the situation's seriousness and quickly retreated from the conflict to head toward the birthing room. However, upon their arrival, they found the birthing room had been charred to a crisp. The despairing wood monster wailed mournfully, shocked Feud, who was trying to escape. Feud immediately flattened himself to the ground, praying the wood monster wouldn't spot him. As luck would have it, he nervously bumped into a pillar, preparing himself to become. But right at that very moment, a flash of brilliant light streaked through, and Godzilla, who had just suffered a loss, began to continuously regain his power. Subtitles. Immediately afterwards, he aimed at the wooden monster and released an atomic breath, causing Feud to hurriedly flee the scene. Meanwhile, the male wood monster rushed to his wife, shouting "You joke!" at Godzilla. Using flight, he wore Godzilla down to let the injured recover. After the military boarded and activated the ship systems, the lights caught the wood monster's attention. He realized the humans were trying to sneak away.